Alright guys, so for this one I'm gonna be swapping out the rear subframe right there, and this one's gonna take a little while because I don't want to mess anything up. And this one is just more of a complete car, meaning I have the exhaust system that I gotta remove, and I have the automatic shift cable that goes to the transmission that I gotta remove. And yeah, that's about it. So that's gonna be a little bit more time that I gotta prepare for and take off and stuff. So for this one I'm gonna be raising up the car, taking off the unloosening the lug nuts, and putting it properly on jack stands, which I kind of hate being underneath the car. Any car on jack stands, I just don't find it safe, but no choice. And then from there, I'm probably gonna take off the front subframe. I'm kind of thinking of doing that just to see if there's any type of like adjustability in that, because something is definitely tweaked with this wheel, and I kind of want to just like have everything loose and then retighten it with the fresh subframe. So so loosen lug nuts, get it on jack stands, first step. So here's a subframe right here. It cleaned up really nice. There's no grease, nothing. And you could tell where there was a little bit of the paint getting eaten up right here and all right here, and that's because I'm thinking brake fluid, because the master cylinder's on this side. And one thing I'm kind of nervous about is that this mount is for an automatic, and these holes, like there's universal holes. There's a hole here, obviously a hole there, one here, and one there. So basically there's a bolt here, so the other mount, it's actually shifted over, and this one is being used and that one's being used because this ear is on the other side of the mount that's on the car. And I looked up manual and automatic, and I believe this is the automatic one. So I don't know if the subframes are different or if these mounting points are just universal where you could just shift it over. Kind of sounds confusing, but when I get off the other subframe, I'm just going to compare them, and I'm going to compare the mounts, because I know that the mounts are different. I have a different mount that's on the car now. So when I get it off, we're just going to compare. We'll see. Alright guys, so I got the car safely up on jack stands, and everything's going pretty smoothly now, but it's already been about 30 minutes and I've just been doing this. So that just goes to show you that prepping a car to ready to work on it, get it ready, could take some time. So I'm gonna just take off the wheels, and yeah, surprisingly, little impact wrench, it actually took them off when they were completely torqued down. I just wanted to experiment, and this little thing actually busted these things right off. But I've actually seen people shear off this little adapter, so definitely don't want to do that. So I'm not going to be using this to take off any 100-pound foot-pound torqued on lug nuts, but definitely I'm going to loosen them up and then just zip them off with this, or any other bolt for that matter. If it's like a 8, 10, 12, 14 millimeter, this will take it off perfectly. But anything bigger than that actually has a little bit of grip on it, I wouldn't risk it. So now it's time to get underneath and start dismantling. Alright guys, so first thing I'm gonna do is take off tie rods, and then sway bar, and then I'm gonna take off the loin, just bust that off real quick. And then I'm gonna take off these stabilizer bars right here on both sides. And after that, let me see, I'm probably going to take off the complete lower control arm right here for now, and then I'll probably have to remove the shock, but we'll see. because usually there's something that's gonna bind it up or something when I have to put the lower control arm back in, and then it's got to mount up to this fork, but we'll see about that. So now something's kind of telling me that that bolt right there for the subframe, it actually looks wrenched on, and for some reason I think this is not the original subframe either, so I could be wrong, but I think it's been pulled off and swapped. But I'm gonna put a much better one on there, and it's not gonna be as beat up and rusted. Alright guys, so discovered a new problem. This right here, I'm gonna pull it. Hear that? Inner ball joint's shot. Outer one's alright. I mean tie rod. Man, that sucks. Just another problem, but I'm not gonna fix it now until I see if this actually corrects the weird angle, the subframe and this wheel. So if I could fix this wheel angle and get everything nice, I will put some inner tie rods in this, both sides. Alright, just got the stabilizer sway bar link right there. Alright, so got the bolt back there, lower control arm, and now I'm going to I tried to take off these stabilizer bolts right here, but I just ended up removing the lower ball joint here and that bolt, and then I removed or loosened up these bolts for this front subframe, whatever, traction bar. It's not a traction bar, but front subframe. And I'm gonna end up dropping this and dropping the arms also down on both sides, so I'm really not gonna worry about that now. So now I'm gonna go work on the other side and get everything loose, and should be good. Basically it's gonna be the lower ball joint, tie rod, and that inner bolt, and the fork for the strut. Alright guys, so I just basically did the same side. Same thing on the same side. Outer ball joint, look at that. That thing is thrashed. So I got the outer tie rod, lower ball joint, the inner bolt for the lower control arm, and I got the stabilizer link right here, all taken off. Next up, I'm just gonna take off these bolts right here and drop everything together along with the lower control arms. Alright guys, just want to see the overall condition. Alright, let me get the other side. Looks like it's pretty loose already. Alright guys, so I just lowered the jack, and now it's just here, just chilling. I'm gonna drop the lower control arms, just bang everything out, and everything should just drop. Gonna drag it over to the light and see how it looks like, the overall condition. Alright guys, so I'm trying to take out the lower control arm. Got my pry bar, putting it in there, and it doesn't want to come out from the subframe. So that's telling me that it's pinched in there and it's possibly just badly bent, because I'm trying to pry it up and it's not coming out. So just gonna keep at it. Alright guys, so trying to take this out, and there to the other side. Alright guys, so I just compared these lower control arms. This is the one that I bought compared to this one, and this one has a shot bushing up here, and this one has a much better looking bushing. It's solid, there's no cracks or nothing. It's old, but it's not cracking yet. So now I'm gonna take this one off, and this thing's not even focusing. Okay, so I'm gonna take this one off and put this one on there instead, and I just cracked these two bolts and I have them nicely ready to go. Thing saves so much time, so I'm gonna put some like anti-seize in these bolts right here, and I'm also gonna take off the complete bar, and I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds very dry. So I'm going to take out the bushings, lube up the bushings, clean everything, and put it back in. I'm also going to clean the subframe too and reinstall this when I reinstall that one. So this is a little something that's kind of backtracking, but I'm going to end up doctoring this one up. By the way, there was no mount in the front, so I think I'm going to go with some polyurethanes in the future as far as like a rear mount, but this one is actually really not that much needed. So yeah, torque mounts are really not that much needed. So I'm gonna continue on with taking off the main subframe and get the show on the road, so I could mount up this one and mount up that one separate and fix this one up. Alright guys, so here's a better look of how the subframe looks. Yeah, thing's freaking grimy as hell. Look at right there, all right here. So basically for now, I'm just gonna take off the sway bar and the exhaust flange bolts right there, and do the steering. And where's the automatic shift cable? Right there. So I gotta take that off, and possibly take that off too, off the transmission, which is gonna be a pain, but yeah, it's gonna be good. So I'm gonna get started on that and drop this subframe. I just got the bracket off right there, and I try to take out the sway bar, but it's not budging. Just gonna end up taking off the exhaust. This is a 12. Back here, I believe it's either a 14 or 15. So yeah, so gonna take these two bolts off, and yeah, that's pretty crusty down here. I haven't even really seen down here. So there's the mount, busted, completely broken. I'll probably just end up taking the rest off. Okay, this is coming out. That's weird. Okay, so gonna continue right here, take these out right here. Alright guys, so got the exhaust dropped, and it dropped a good 12 inches, so that's going to be pretty good for dropping the subframe. It's going to go down, out this way, and slide out. So now it's all downhill from here. Just disconnect the steering from above, take out the through bolt to the subframe mount, and these 4 bolts right here. My freaking hand's so dirty, this car. And take off these 4 subframe bolts right here, and this whole thing's gonna be dropped down. Can't wait. Let's see. easier. Then you want to make sure your wheel pretty straight. Doesn't really matter, you could make adjustments later, but it's best just to do it now. Alright, so I just took off the main bolt for the mount down there, and as you can see, this thing's pretty damn crusty, but there's the main bolt right there for the mount. Now the only thing that's holding this thing up are the four main subframe bolts right here, and gonna drop that and drop the subframe. Should be good. Let's see, moment of truth right here to see how bad it is. Alright, now gotta get this jack as close as I can, and this thing is gonna drop. Alright, so what's happening now is that I have this cable right here in the way. I'm gonna try and lower it without taking it out of the transmission. I did take off this little bracket, aluminum bracket, and this is what holds it in, but I don't want to take it out or disturb it or anything, or else yeah, can't shift. So I'm gonna lower it, and then I'm gonna try and like squeeze this over and pull this a little bit down, because it does have like more slack than this. Well, yeah, it's holding it up right there, but it does go down more, and that's how I'm gonna take it out. So I'll probably end up pulling it this way, but in the meantime I could there, it's ready to come down. Alright, so I'm gonna pull it out and let's check it out. Kind of hard to film upside down because I have no like little mini tripod. I should get a little mini tripod, but yeah, we'll see. Alright guys, so finally got it out. Everything worked just as planned. Now I'm gonna compare these two and check them out. Alright guys, so this is the old one. Obviously that's a quote-unquote new one, and I was kind of right with the bracket. Two bolts right here, 2 and 2, and my mount goes this way, this mount goes this way, so I'm guessing this was a manual mount, and it's mounted up here, and this third bolt mounts here. But since they didn't have this type, they just instead of having it here, they put it here and just didn't use a bolt there. So if you know about mounts and like how this goes, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so different mount, my good mount, it's in the same area. Now I just need a bolt from there. I'm gonna use one of these, and this bushing fried, and this one is very good. So damage, let's see damage. Well, you could see in here, and see this right here, and then if you look at this one, look how much nicer that one is, and there's no gap right there. Compared to this one, kind of hard to see, but this one looks like it just got kind of torn out in a way, like that spot weld, you could see it in there. This side, that one looks alright. But it's primarily this though that looks shady as hell, and this one's just a much nicer looking one. So now I'm gonna take off, yeah, this inner tie rod, take out the rack, and yeah, and swap it over. I should have got the actual bushings for that because those look better and these look pretty bad. But yeah, the reason why I was at the junkyard and I was like all pissed off and everything about removing this rack is that the other rack had the busted tie rod, and it was a millimeter away from freeing up, and just that millimeter, and I wanted to get the hell out of there. It was like I was burning up. It was pretty frustrating. So that's the reason why. It's just like it was hanging up right here, just a little hair, and I ended up getting it free, so it all worked out. But now I'm just gonna take my time, move this one, probably clean it up a little bit too, and transfer it to that one. All right guys, so this is how you take off an inner ball joint, an inner tie rod. You basically have this O-ring, this washer type deal like this, and it has like some little hooks that go like that in grooves, and they slide, the grooves slide onto this main piece right here. And so when it goes like that, it clamps onto that, and the back of it clamps on to the actual ball joint. So the tie rod. So the tie rod cannot spin, and if it does get loose, it cannot back out. So what I did, I got the screwdriver, and as you can see, I went right in back of it right there, and now I'm just prying it and hammering it. So you got to do that to both sides, flatten it out, and then get a wrench behind here, or adjustable crescent wrench, and just unscrew it out of this piece. But yeah, so you basically gotta get inside there and bend that over. That's how you get it out. And to do this in a 100-degree junkyard isn't that cool. That's why I was like complaining the last time, but it ended up working. So now I could just take my time and do this. All right, so now that I have those little pieces bent over, grab a wrench, and these things are usually never completely tight, at least the ones that I've taken off. So now when I put it on myself, it's gonna go on nicely snug. So yeah, so kind of a pain, but it's proven and it works flawlessly. Alright, so those are those two little tangs right there, 1 and 2, and those go right and back. So now I'm going to take off the rack, and that's actually the bad tie rod too. Alright, so I'm going to take these two 14s out and transfer everything to the nice new subframe. Alright, so got these loosened up, 4 14s. Actually, this has to go more in. Yeah, this has to go in. Alright, so after that's all the way in, the rack pulls right out. So now I could pull whatever I need from this and mainly just a couple bolts. And now this is garbage, ready to go to the bin. Now I'm gonna clean up that rack and install everything over to the next one. Alright guys, so kind of clean up the rack a little bit. You can't really tell, but it's a lot better than how it looked like, I think. So what I'm planning to do, I think I'm gonna take off this right here and pour some motor oil in there. And yeah, because when I turn this, it seems really dry. And I know probably grease goes in there, but I don't have any grease on me right now, so I'm just gonna do what I can. Let's see if it makes it a little bit better. Alright, so got it out. It was basically that piece like that, I guess like a locking nut. That plug right there, some type of spring for like tension or something, a ring in there, doesn't feel any different. Kind of feels a little bit more easier, but I'm definitely going to tighten it back how it was. I remember it was just flush, and I think it was back over here. Yeah, like that yellow was on this side. So I could always check the video. So this is kind of like a little no F's given right here. I'm going to pour a little bit of this in there. And hopefully it makes it like a little bit easier. Feels a lot better though. Yeah, so I could already see the oil coming out. So I'm gonna keep doing this, lubricate the whole thing and button it up, and I could probably just flush it out later on and pack it with grease when I do these tie rods. Alright guys, so I got the rack back on, and now I'm just going to put this back in there, the inner tie rod, and then from there there's gonna be a little boot that goes right there, and that's where the process of lifting this thing up in there and supporting it with the jack right here and bolt it in. So from here it's all downhill, the bunch of large fasteners. Alright guys, so finally got the rack all the way in. I mean the tie rod rack mount, everything's good, all the bolts are in. So now I'm gonna put it underneath, but I'm not really gonna show that part because it's gonna be aids to watch. But yeah, because I have to like maneuver it underneath that cable, and I don't want to bore you guys with that, so just gonna partially mount it up and then show you guys from there. So let's get this done. Alright guys, so I got the subframe in, very good, and now I'm just gonna clean up the front subframe looking piece and put on my new lower control arm. I'm gonna put the sway bar in right now and mount up the actual shift cable. You could see the bolt right there sticking down, so just about there, and put the rest of the suspension and steering back in, and it should be good. This axle's leaking, but yeah, so torque, I'm gonna torque everything up real nicely, make sure nothing's gonna get loose, and then I'm gonna go over it at once over and put the exhaust, and it should be good. So for now I'm just going to button up that cable and put sway bar back in. Alright guys, so from here I'm just gonna put tie rods, lower control arm, and then I'm going to do that bar that comes here, the little traction bar, or stabilizer bar, and then I'm gonna put in the front subframe piece and button this all up. But next time you see this, it's gonna be partially together, and yeah, I got basically everything ready to go. I got that sway bar in, everything's good. Just gotta put the cable, that bracket, and then it's gonna be good. So man, these axles seen better days, but they're not making any noise, so I'm not complaining. Alright guys, so I got it 100% together. Everything's all done. All I gotta do is tighten up these bolts right here and tighten up the nut at the end right here, and everything's gonna be pretty good. After that, I'm gonna lower it and see how it looks like.